call this meeting of the Cleveland Heights University Heights Board of Education to order. Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Coble.
Here.
Ms. Pepler.
Here.
Mr. Register.
Here.
Mr. Silverman.
Here.
Mr. Zucker.
Here.
All right, first order of business, could I have a motion to approve item A2, the minutes as listed?
So moved. Second.
Any changes, corrections, additions? Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Coble.
Yes.
Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Register.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.
And on to the fun part of the evening. We're going to start with awards and recognitions.
Okay.
Well, it's all going to be fun, but this is the real fun, right?
Good evening, everyone. So I'd like to begin our meeting tonight by first recognizing a Rising Heights High sophomore who recently attended a prestigious national conference for young people gifted in science and technology. So with Alex Gauli coming forth, he was selected to attend this summer's Congress of Future Science and Technology Leaders in Boston from June 28th through June 30th. The Congress is an honors-only program for high school students passionate about STEM, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. Alex was nominated to represent Heights High by none other than American astronaut Buzz Aldrin, who's currently serving as the science director of the National Academy of Future Scientists and Technologists. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that I'm very eager to hear about Alex's experience firsthand. So Alex is going to come to the stand at the podium and then say a few words about his experience. And then we would like to invite you to take a photo with Nancy, the board president, Nancy Pepler, and I. And we also have a certificate for you. Okay, you ready? Okay, Alex.
Hello, my name is Alex Gauli, and I'm the rising sophomore. I've recently returned from the Congress of Future Science and Technology Leaders held at UMass Lowell. At the Congress, we listened to the great scientists talk about how they contributed to the advancement of technology. I met other academic scholars from all over the country. In total, I think there were about 4,000 of us. In addition to hearing about the success of the giants of the science world, Dean Kamen, Bill Westenhofer, Dr. David Wineland, as well as Buzz Aldrin, we also heard the achievements of young people who debuted around our age. A reoccurring theme among the speakers was, failure is inevitable, but if you are motivated, you will succeed. One of the speakers who caught my attention was Cherie Boz. At 17, she won the first ever Google Science Fair with research in chemotherapy for women with ovarian cancer. I got the opportunity to ask her a question, and the question I asked was the one that had been in the back of my head the entire time. How did she stay motivated when she kept failing? Her response was, if you're truly interested in the subject, failure won't matter and you'll keep going. As I reflected over lunch with my newfound friends, I realized this narrows down the search for what field of science I want to go into. From the moment I got the nomination letter, I knew this experience would have a lasting effect on the direction of my studies. I'm proud to have represented my community as one of the few Ohioans to have attended the Congress.
Alex, you're truly impressive and outstanding student. We're so proud of you to have you represent our district as one of the future leaders in science and technology. So let's give him another round of applause, please. So next in our recognitions tonight, the Garrity Outdoor Learning Garden is blooming this summer, due largely to a generous donation by Chartwell School's dining service. With the help of a donation from groups like Chartwell's, along with community volunteers, students returning to Garrity in the fall would experience a new outdoor learning lab with an improved garden area, greenhouse, and even a handmade pizza oven. 12 high school students, mostly from Heights High and several from Brush High, are working on the Learning Lab for 6 weeks this summer, and they're currently about 2 weeks in the project. Here to present the donation to Ms. Katrina Hicks, who's the principal of Garrity, is Chartwell's District Manager, Tanera Winters. So Ms. Winters, if you please come to the podium to say a few words about the generous donation, and then we'll like to take a photo.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. It's with great pleasure that I extend our donation from Chartwell's to the school district and the Garrity Garden. They have moved along so far in just a couple weeks. It's amazing what they've done, and it's a very exciting project. And with Uncle Mud and Heather and the students, it's just amazing. I just couldn't believe the 1 week everything they'd accomplished in just a few days. So it's our great pleasure to be able to help fund that and further that, because it is an awesome opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
So we have Ms. Hicks come up. Yeah, we'll take one with you first, and then Nancy will come up the second one. So we take it first. Okay. Okay, then Nancy, come up. And if you have an opportunity to go, please do. I had an opportunity to go today, and you're right, Tanera. It's amazing what they've done. And actually, the students today were actually stepping in mud and straw with Mr. Mud. So it was amazing to see that. So finally, I am proud to say that our communications team has won 6 national communications, 5 state awards for outstanding work in the past year. So I'd like to call forward our Director of Communications and Community Engagement, Angie Shaker, her Administrative Assistant, Caitlin Bricker, Public Relations Liaison, Cynthia Barnes Booker, and our Parent and Community Liaison for Heights High, Joy Henderson. So the National School Public Relations Association recently recognized our district with the highest honor of Award of Excellence for our website, chuh.org, as well as the Update print newsletter, which is mailed out to 40,000 households several times per year. These 4 ladies also received an Award of Merit for the district's weekly e-newsletter, also received an Award of Merit for our Alumni Foundation newsletter, which is produced by the Alumni Foundation. So special thanks and congratulations to those from the foundation who contribute to that, including Jenny Collier, the foundation vice president, and to our communications team for editing it. The district also received honorable mention for our Facebook page and the video Superintendent Talisa Dixon First 100 Days. So furthermore, the Ohio Public School Relations Association awarded the team with the Mark of Excellence Award for the Update newsletter, Facebook page, website, and e-newsletter. The team also received a Mark of Distinction for the district print calendar mailed to all district families in August. So congratulations, ladies. We're very proud and appreciative of the work that you do. There's certainly a lot of information to the community and to the district. So let's please give them a round of applause, and we'll join them. Thank you again. And this concludes our recognitions for this evening. Thank you all.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. I don't believe we have any requested audience, but we have several people who have signed up for statements from the audience. So first we have Joan Spurl. It's going to speak with us about the Sustainability Working Group. And Joan, you know the drill, but to remind everyone, you have 5 minutes and we'll give you fair warning. And thanks for coming.
Good evening.
Hello.
So again, I'm Joan Spurl, and I am a parent in the district. And I would like to, I'm putting on my reading glasses, sorry, because I'm reading this. I would like to thank Dr. Dixon and district staff for their time and effort in creating the recent presentation on sustainability. I would like to view it as a recognition of the high value our community members place on sustainable policies and practices. And if, as I hope, it was an invitation to community members to press a reset button and begin a process of positive and effective collaboration as we go forward, on behalf of the Sustainability Working Group, I gratefully and cordially accept that invitation. Together, we can continue to improve the prospects for this district and our community as a whole. We'd like to suggest to the board that instead of viewing the various entities involved in the high school planning community meetings as special interests, that you view us as engaged, committed citizens and taxpayers striving to support the project so that it will provide the optimal long-term benefit for all students and community members. Everyone who attended the meetings recognized that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and wanted to help the district get it right. As an administration and a school board, you have much work on your platter. You can't possibly know everything about everything, and thus you invited us and many others to the table to assist you. The groups interested in CTE, the music program, historic preservation, sustainability, etc., are not working against each other, but rather alongside each other and ultimately with each other, with the shared goal of an exemplary building and educational program. It's a team effort. We're each other's, the board's, and the district's allies, not adversaries. The high school project is well on its way, but there are still many ways community members can and should engage to make it as successful as possible. And of course, we can take what we've learned from the high school project and work together to improve the process and outcome as we move into the middle school planning phase. Dr. Dixon, you've stated that you would like the SWG to act in an advisory capacity to you. We would very much like to do so and request a time to discuss what that means and how we can enact a structure that will be most effective. And Nancy, thank you for your recognition that we need to begin now to work together to change the behaviors and the culture of both staff and students to more fully live out the district's commitment to sustainability. Many sustainability working group members have been making positive and concrete contributions to a variety of school initiatives. Here is a very small sampling. Some participated in the solid waste audit. Others helped launch the recycling effort at the New Heights High Stadium last fall. Glenn Odenbrett has been volunteering his time to help create the Learning Gardens at Garrity Elementary School, and Alan Wilkinson is helping with the rainwater capture system design and build at Garrity. For the last few years, I have been working with Reaching Heights on the Role Models program, and most recently, I was thrilled that Dr. Dixon invited me to participate in the selection of the food service provider for the district. I am very excited by the myriad opportunities that decision presents for both for sustainability and the health and wellness of students and staff. We look forward to starting anew and working in a positive partnership with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Glenn Odenbrett, also the Sustainability Working Group.
So for the record, my name is Glenn Odenbrett,
And Joan Spurl has already made reference to some of my volunteer efforts in support of the district's schools and students. With respect to the school gardening projects at Garrity and Delisle Center, specifically, I would add that I have offered some of the high school students involved the opportunity to earn awards for college through an Environmental AmeriCorps National Service Program that I direct. And Dr. Dixon, I would like to meet with you as soon as possible so that we can talk about how more of the high school students can still take advantage of those education awards this year. The success of the renovated high and middle schools as buildings and as educational venues and teaching tools is critical to the future of our district and our community. When completed, they promise to help make our district's education at least comparable with and ideally more desirable than the other educational choices that many parents in our community have opted for. I'm the father of 3 children, 2 who recently graduated from Heights High, and a 3rd who will begin the school's Career and Technical Education, or CTE, program this fall. None of my children will benefit directly from any of the renovated schools as students of the district. Still, I and many others like me responded enthusiastically to the chance to shape what the renovated high school would be and join some of the many working groups encouraged to provide community input on the high school's design. The CTE working group, under the tireless leadership of Malia Lewis, created a report that has already been submitted to Superintendent Dixon and the board for formal consideration. I am very much looking forward to what steps the district's new CTE director, Brad Callender, will be taking to implement those recommendations. The work of the Sustainability and Building as Teaching Tool working groups has intersected most clearly in the concerted efforts of the Sustainability Working Group, or SWG, to ensure that the renovated high school meets forward-looking construction standards to address its energy needs. Highlighting these features of the building, basically making them visible, metering them, and describing them appropriately with signage, will make them an outstanding teaching tool for future generations of high school students who will need to live in a world that relies far less on fossil fuels and manages stormwater in ways that our region's assets, like Lake Erie, are the envy of increasingly drought and forest fire-stricken areas further to the west. I'm not an expert in school construction, and so have been an interested and until now publicly silent supporter of the SWG's efforts. Yet I have been frustrated by what seems to be a growing adversarial relationship between some of the group's more outspoken members, whose ideas I support, and some of the district's board and administration members. The new CTE director is someone I expect will champion the ideas of the CTE working group. However, the SWG does not have a designated administrative champion. Until the district hires such a person, and there are many school districts nationwide which already have sustainability directors on staff, then it is critical that the board and administration work as closely as possible in collaboration with knowledgeable members of the SWG throughout the facilities design project. As Joan suggested just a few minutes ago, it is time to start anew, a more positive partnership with you. I suggest that a formal partnership be guided by the following principles as we look to the future, and I call them the 4 T's. Tenacity. While seeking the best possible solutions to sustainability challenges takes time, we should all commit to exploring such facilities design options together in as much depth as possible. This means not dismissing any of them as too expensive before fully calculating their short-term and long-term benefits and costs using the best possible information available to administrators, its contractors, and knowledgeable members of the SWG. Timeliness. Detailed information about options and costs associated with those options should be shared regularly and quickly enough so that knowledgeable volunteers from the community have time to review it and suggest potentially viable alternatives as appropriate. These are volunteers whom your own project architect, Gary Balog, has characterized as among the most professional citizen groups he has ever worked with. Transparency. This means willingness to not only share what has or is going to be decided, but why and how. There should be as little behind-the-scenes decision-making as possible. As engaged community members, we should not leave board meetings with a feeling of fait accompli on issues involving environmental sustainability. Our goal is that you should not have that feeling either. And finally, temperance. And by this, I'm not referring to the consumption of alcohol. There have been times when commitment to, enthusiasm for, and frustration with the facilities design process have led some of us to express ourselves in ways that may cause the serious consideration of important and valid concerns to be impeded by strident tones. While sincere commitment to a project cannot, and arguably should not, be devoid of emotion. We should all temper our messages in ways that promote dialogue and open communication. The members of the Sustainability Working Group are committed to such a partnership and its guiding principles. We ask for your commitment in return. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Next, we have Mike Stevens, sustainable donation.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Mike Stevens. I am a 60-plus year resident of Cleveland Heights, product of Boulevard, St. Anne's, Mount Roosevelt, and Heights, class of '69. And I wanted to speak and address to you. About a year ago, I got involved with when Karpinski Engineering called Dovetail Solar about proposing a solar system for the new high school. And I jumped at the opportunity because this is home. This is where I've been virtually my whole life, except for a 6-year stint in California building solar systems for some of the larger solar companies in existence at the time. And what I want to say to the board is if you could please turn on the back cover of the magazine. You may be familiar with what's going on at Motor Cars Honda at the corner of Mayfield and Superior. And my company, Dovetail Solar, is currently building the largest single solar structure on a car dealership in the United States. And I was privileged to create the design for that solar system. And I want to tell the board that contemplating solar energy is, to me, it's been my whole career since 1973 when I got out of college. And it's an extremely vital part of our entire societal fabric. We are going through a second industrial revolution that creates a lot of upheaval in the society, but it is a revolution nonetheless, and it is important that we as a society understand it. I want to make a donation to this board. I have lived and breathed and worked sustainability, energy conservation, renewable energy for 40-plus years, since 1973. This board, I'm privileged to have in my hands a few pages of the Heights High 75% construction documents that I received from the architect's firm. And in reviewing them, I noticed that the good news is that the building is basically sound. You're getting an okay building. But there are many things that we've learned in the sustainability industry that require thinking outside the normal box. And in doing so, you can create a project that has a tremendously important, lasting impact on the community and the planet as a whole. The less energy this building uses, the better off the entire society is. And I want to donate to this board. I have no money, like some of the deep pocket graduates of this school district, like the Ratners and the Crawfords. But what I have is knowledge, and I have time to give to this project. Based on my meeting last week with Dr. Dixon, my first meeting with Talisa, who I consider a friend, and I am inviting to make her new home here in Cleveland Heights. I want to offer this board $10,000 worth of my time, roughly 125 to 150 hours of my time, to review all the construction documents, to work with other members of sustainability and the continuing technical education group to fine-tune this building at this stage where it's only at 75%. where we believe we can find some tremendous cost savings that can be translated into long-term cost savings. For example, first thing I noticed in the building was that there are roughly 300,000 square feet of acoustic suspended ceilings recommended or currently designed into the building.
Just about
That's-
half a minute.
Okay, thank you. It's roughly $1 million for those 300,000 square feet. In my experience, both as a school board employee for 11 years from 1989 to 91 in the trades, and as a designer, engineer, builder, those suspended ceilings can be almost completely eliminated. And the building, all of the building systems can be exposed, labeled, and turned into a teaching tool. And the building functions better. That $1 million savings can translate into better insulation, better windows, etc. I am willing to make that donation because this is my home. It is what I have to give and is what I am glad to give. To make this is a once in a lifetime. This is once in 50 years, maybe 100, that we'll rebuild this high school. I want it to be the best possible high school for my home. My kids walk these halls. I've walked these halls many times as a tradesman repairing this building. I want this to be the best continuing district it possibly can be.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Laura Marks, outdoor space.
I'm Laura Marks. My daughter was the 7th generation in my family to live in Cleveland Heights. Narrowly, I would like to speak about the outdoor space as I reviewed the plans from the architect. In a larger sense, I'd like to speak about sustainability. So Lisa, if you remember during your interview process, we kind of grilled you at the last minute about the sustainability. So I just want to bring you back to that bigger picture, that what every decision needs to target is cost savings, social responsibility, and environmental responsibility. What the people who are on the sustainability working group have all of that in mind with every recommendation that we've made. So that when we get feedback that it's too expensive, in the long run, the recommendations that we're making are cost savings. On the outdoor space, that includes retaining water on site because our sewer bills are going to be going up astronomically once legislation gets through the Ohio Supreme Court. Our water bills are going to be going up. If we can keep our water bills down by having cisterns and waterless urinals, that's going to be saving us money in the long run. The social responsibility parts of outdoor spaces, that there are a lot of, there's so much that students can learn from being out in the outdoor environment, which I think that we're recognizing by supporting the Garrity outdoor learning spaces. There's also a component that there is a large number of students that I interact with who are really in despair at some of the decisions of not taking responsibility for our action. The sewer bill increase is going to be based upon the number of square feet of impervious surface on a site. Basically, the Heights High site is impervious surface, and so we need to make every effort we can to keep the water on site around the peripheries. The current design of the bioretention swale along the Washington site is inadequate to keep water on site. It's not designed properly. There are small things in the plan that I don't want to bog you down with the details of what I've come up with reviewing the outdoor plans, but there are small things like there's a dying ash tree that is meant to, that the plan says that we're going to be retaining that in a community where emerald ash borer is devastating our ash tree population. That tree needs to go. But in the bigger picture, we need to be looking at that bioretention swale and redesigning it. We need to be looking at the biodiversity of the tree choices, that the tree choices of Benke landscape architects it does not meet industry standards for the diversity of trees, particularly the maples, the oaks, and the elm trees. I think then but the biggest thing that concerns me, Talisa, is that just as members of the Sustainability Working Group were promised that we'd be meeting with the Karpinski Engineering Group, I was promised that I would meet with the landscape architect in order to develop the plan. And while I've been out of the state and out of the country since I last addressed the board, neither my telephone number nor my email has changed, and I've not been contacted. There's many things that need to be changed in the outdoor plan to make it as sustainable as possible, and I hope you'll include me in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary Cantor, speaking on payroll excesses.
Good evening.
Hello.
I'm Gary Cantor, Heights High class of 1975. I live on Cummings Road in Cleveland Heights. My former spouse was a speech pathologist in the Dover, Delaware Public Schools, a proud union member. My dad was a longtime federal employee. He served in the military in World War II and retired from the Army Reserves after 30 years or so. He drew pensions from the federal government, the state government, and the military, plus Social Security. He was a card-carrying member of the Greatest Generation. His older brother, my Uncle Lou, was also a World War II veteran and for a time was a union representative in Cleveland and in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I stand second to no person in this room in my appreciation for what organized labor has accomplished for this country and why our nation continues to need strong organized labor. Last month in this same forum, I described how the overwhelming rejection of the district's operating levy at the ballot box in May could in no way be construed as the voters asking the board to return the levy to the ballot in November. The board and their levy supporters have lost. It's time to move on. Today I will speak about just one obvious way the district can do more with fewer taxpayer dollars. From information provided by the district's treasurer, Mr. Gaynor, these are the annual salaries of the 5 school nurses in the CHUH district, each working 202 days a year between September and June. Let's generously call that a 10-month work year. The head school nurse's annual salary is $96,485 for that 202-day work year. That's about $480 a work day, and in an 8-hour day, it's about $60 an hour. There's a school nurse making $94,584, a school nurse making $93,100, another school nurse making $93,100, and the 5th school nurse makes $80,743. These are all for 10-month years. 4 of these school nurses are making between $9,300 and $9,500 for each month worked, while the 5th is making $8,100 per month. I spent some time researching the salaries of nurses in the region, many who work at the clinic and UH. At the clinic, hourly wages for RNs start at about $27 per hour, including shift differential and an intensive care unit premium. That's about $54,000 annually. Divide that by a 12-month work year, and you get about $4,500 per month worked. The highest annual earnings for a 12-month year of work that I could find was $72,000 for a 12-month year. That's $6,000 per month. So why are the taxpayers paying over $99,300 per month per school nurse when the market in this region is less than $6,000 per month? Why must the taxpayers pay a premium that is much greater than 50% above the market? Another inexplicable cost to taxpayers is the bonus paid to the teachers unit president, $26,141 above his annual salary for teaching. $26,141. That's a full year's wage for someone making $13 an hour. Lots of hardworking Americans make a whole lot less, and the taxpayers just give it to the union president. I've just explained how the district is recklessly misspending about $150,000 of taxpayer money every year. In 7 years, that's over $1 million for just 6 salaried employees. The district's taxpayers spoke clearly when they overwhelmingly rejected that operating levy in May. The message is that there are other better ways to balance the district's budget while improving the quality of education being delivered. We, the people, expect the school board and the unions to work together to make these better ways happen. Once again, if any of you believe I've presented any misinformation and flat-out lies, using Mr. Gaynor's words as posted on the district website, please bring these to my attention using these remaining moments so that I may respond accordingly. Thank you.
I'll be happy to push back, Gary, and say that the numbers that you just shared yourself, that you found starting salaries at the Cleveland Clinic, and the salaries that you discussed for the nurses are not our starting salaries. So there are step increases, there are other things within the union contract for the nurses that do account for the differences. So I would hope that you'd go back and do your research on nurses at the clinic with similar experience and compare them. I'm not going to doubt that there might be some differences, but you're comparing apples to oranges. So I'd look forward to that next month.
The old apples and oranges.
Yep, thank you.
Never fails.
Diane Hallam, public records request.
You could.
Thank you.
I didn't have the capability of printing copies for everybody, so. But this has to do with public records requests that I made a comment on May 4th. Day before the last election, I stated that District Treasurer Scott Gaynor had not responded to a public records request I had submitted on March 30th, 2015. I had submitted 2 different public records requests that day. Mr. Gaynor was responsive to one email and that he provided the record requested later that same day. The other public records request is the one that has yet to be fulfilled by Mr. Gaynor to this day. It is item 1 in the handout. And if you read it, you can see that it says that I'm requesting records that identify all administrative staff, the status of their employment, whether full-time, part-time, or other, and their respective salaries related to the following position codes. And I list those there. And then I also request the records that relate to their fringe benefits. I received an email from Mr. Gaynor on April 4th, supposedly as a response to my March 30 records request. It is shown in item 2. And if you read that, you can see that it says attached per your request, and it then says all administrative staff therein are full-time, which indicates that Mr. Gaynor had not been responsive to my public records request and that he only provided full-time administrative staff. I show an image of what that file that he did send me contains. And whatever. By April 4th, I had downloaded a number of data files from the Ohio Department of Education website that contained finance data for the district, as well as the district report card. The data in the district report card contains a variety of data. The ODE pulls from district EMIS submitted data, as I understand it. And at that time, I was unaware of what that data was or what even EMIS was. So I attempted quite feebly to understand how the Ohio Department reached its $3,262 per student cost for administrative expenses. And I used the costs that were in Mr. Gaynor's attachment to try and figure that out, and it didn't work. So I sent a follow-up email to Mr. Gaynor saying that I needed more cost data to figure out how the ODE got to this value of $3,262. I show the printout of the report, the email that I sent, and Mr. Gaynor replied quickly to that email, indicating that he could see that the $3,262 cost in the ODE database must be more than just the list of requested job codes. And to me, this indicated we had a definite meeting of the minds between us in that additional cost data was needed to figure out how the Department of Education came up with its administrative expenses cost. Another email came later saying again that he seemed to understand, saying that he would review the ODE guidelines to see what went into those calculations. On April 9th, a woman told me, she was the chair of the district's lay finance committee, told me that the administrative staff included a host of staff other than principals and managers, which were contained in the attachment that Mr. Gaynor sent me. So I sent an email to Mr. Gaynor on April 10th to say that he had not fulfilled my request. I restated what was in my March 30th public records request, and that's pictured there. And I also sent that with 2 other public records requests that he responded to immediately. But again, not this one. Let's see, I threatened a writ of mandamus, didn't do anything.
30 seconds, Ms. Hallam.
Okay, basically, Mr. Gaynor is being intentionally unresponsive to my March 30th, 2015 public records request. Blah, 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 blah. He asked for clarification. I provide the clarification. You might find this amusing. What's amusing?
I smiled at you saying blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, because, well, I don't have time. But you can see here that I tried again to explain to Mr. Gaynor that what I was asking for was a list of all administrative staff, full-time, half-time, and other. And his email response to me was, thanks for the clarification. I'm having discussions with our EMIS coordinator to determine how ODE takes our raw data and combines it in the reports they produce. He totally ignored the fact that he, again, did not fulfill my March 30th, 2015 public records request. Again. So I sent him an email in response, like, okay, what's going on? And no response until, let's see, he gives me an update. Our EMIS coordinator has multiple questions out to ODE. Again, ignoring what was in my original request. It has nothing to do with ODE. It has to do with all administrative staff. Their titles, their salaries, full-time, half-time, or other.
Okay, thank you.
So I have had it with the emails that you've been sending out, that people are sending me copies of, your comments on Facebook, and your letters to the editors. I am not lying. I have requested this data since March of 30th, 2015, and you guys are breaking the law. You have not fulfilled this request, and for you to continue to call me a liar and saying that you have not is defamation and totally uncalled for people in your positions.
Thank you. Mr. Gaynor, would you like to respond?
I would be happy to respond. Ms. Hallam, you're right. I think we, through multiple exchanges in email, I would argue that every record that you've asked for has been provided to you. What I'm telling you, though, is that there are documents.
Ms. Hallam, please allow him to respond. This is not going to be a back and forth. Okay? So you've had your time to make public comment. If you'd like to come back next month and do it again, you're welcome to. But please let Mr. Gaynor respond.
I would encourage you to take whatever action you feel is necessary, because the records that you have requested have been provided to you. I would be happy to. I would be happy to. Absolutely. I will resend every email, and I will copy the board and anyone else who'd like to see that, every email that has been sent to you.
Okay.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Will do. Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Dixon.
Okay, so we will have our second reading of the new course proposal, Leadership for Change for Heights High for the 2015-16 school year.
Thanks.
And we have Bob Swaggart here if we have any questions. There would be 3 readings, so there'll be another reading after this. But do you have any questions, Bob, here to answer those questions?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
I will not go through and read the entire language from the course proposal, but I will address a couple of potential concerns that were shared with me after our first reading. Something that I wanted to make the board aware of is that in that proposal that you've been given, there's really 2 ideas there. The first is that we want to create a course at our high school that gives students exposure to a leadership curriculum. It's embedded into the school day. It is a scheduled period which would receive credit, elective credit. The second part of that, which really has some of the costs that you see in front of you related to it, is using those leaders that are going to be enrolled in that course to staff and to implement our freshman orientation program. So some of the dollars that you see around stipends, we actually think that we're going to be able to absorb that in a different way without having to stipend that position. But it's not to run the course. It's to compensate those teachers for their time beyond the school year in order to work with this freshman orientation program. So it is not something that is a necessary cost in order to run the course. It's really about, we want students to be engaged leaders. We want them to enroll in that course, and we also want to give them an outlet for their leadership, which would be mentoring freshmen. So that's a little bit of how we see all of these things rolling together. We're looking at having around 100 student mentors. These would be juniors and seniors at our high school. From that 100, we would think that 50 would be students willing to participate in the course for credit during the school year. So we really are trying to have this captive audience of students that might not be wanting to take the class, and then from that, about half of them we're hoping would want to take the class and continue to work through a leadership curriculum at the high school. That being said, I would love if you had any questions, comments, concerns about the program. I'd be able to try to address those concerns.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
After the meeting, I've got a couple questions on this and something else. So,
okay.
Since we got multiple readings, so.
Yes, definitely.
Well, we just have one more, so I guess, do you have anything specific?
No, I'll talk to
okay.
him after, because I've got some questions on something else as well. So, then we got one more reading. So, yeah.
I guess for me, the only question that I'd like to ask is for you to say a little bit more about how you think this new course will facilitate a positive transition when that transition is happening beginning to happen in just a little over 6 weeks?
So we've already started training our leaders. During finals week, before finals week, probably about a month before, we put an all-call out for students that would be interested in working through the freshman orientation program. We gave them, I believe, 8 hours of training, so that way they'd be prepared for freshman orientation that will be taking place in mid-August. And we'll pull them back together right before, just as a refresher, in order to make sure that they know exactly what their responsibilities are, how that freshman orientation program is going to play out, and then how we really can get those juniors and seniors to be mentoring our incoming 9th graders. The intent of the program is we offer an initial exposure with juniors and seniors meeting freshmen before school starts, so that way when school starts, there's familiar faces. We have our juniors and seniors wearing their t-shirts that they wear during orientation, so when freshmen might have a question, a concern, they might feel a little out of place, they might not know where their classroom is, that those juniors and senior mentors are right there visible, so they can really make some of those connections. Again, one of the primary goals of this mentoring program is to make sure that our 9th graders know that at their first day, even before their first day of high school, that they've already met a couple of people that are going to help smooth that transition and help get them off to a really good start for the 9th grade year. That they have a junior or senior that is someone that they could go to, they can ask their questions, they could ask for advice, and really they can just look up to them as they're trying to begin their high school career on the positive note.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. You talked about paying stipends. Are those going to the students?
So the stipends that are in that original proposal, I think that we have found different ways to fund that. I don't think that we're going to pursue a stipend position for that. Okay. It is meant for the teachers who are facilitating that orientation program. So even though we've got our student leaders that are participating in it, the students are not being compensated for their time monetarily. One of the things that we do look to have happen is we can compensate those students through service hours, community service hours. I think that even one of the people who had talked earlier tonight talked about different kinds of awards that students can win for volunteering so much or committing so much community service. I think that that's one of these other options that we would like to explore, to say that, okay, we can have Cleveland Heights High School juniors and seniors that could earn the presidential awards for service with 50 or 100 community service hours. So I think we would like to compensate them more with gratitude and these honorary, it's not really a commendation, but something that recognizes their commitment to community service and to school service.
Any other questions? Thanks, Bob.
Thank you. I guess I do have one other quick thing. Is and this may have been asked in the previous meeting. I was absent when this was first read. Would we be the first school in Ohio doing this? And I see the data for all these other states, and it's impressive.
So we are amongst the first. We actually implemented a very similar program a couple of years ago, and as we were in small school and small school transition, there was a little bit of a lack of interest, or some small schools said we want to do this, others said we're not going to do this. And as we think about moving back to a more comprehensive type of high school where students are not being asked to make so many specific choices around, do you participate, do you not participate, we really thought it was a great opportunity to try and breathe new life into this leadership program, that it wasn't something that was small school specific or some opted in or opted out. Beechwood High School also has participated in this program. Since our initial participation a couple of years ago, some new schools have signed on in the Ohio area, or in the Cleveland area, I'm sorry. So we're not the first, but we definitely try to partner with some of those other schools. Last time we went around and we did this, we did have our student leaders participate in a student summit with the student leaders from Beechwood. So we got our students all together and they got to share some best practices and really just applaud some of the efforts that they had with making inroads for our 9th graders.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have the approval of our Cleveland Heights High School graduation class, 420 students.
Can I have a motion to approve the graduating class?
So moved.
Any comments? Questions?
Yeah, the 420?
420.
That's up a little bit, isn't it?
I don't remember from last
I
year.
think we dropped a little bit, but just a little bit below 400 last.
That does, and this doesn't include the summer school graduates as well, I would assume, because we have.
Right.
We have a separate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaynor?
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Okay, and the last item is approval for following field trip, Roxborough Middle School 8th graders, trip to Williamsburg, Virginia, and Washington, D.C., scheduled for November 11th through 13th.
Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, gentlemen, or questions? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
So we have all.
Okay, so next we're moving into personnel. I believe I can take items E1 through 5 together. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
And any questions or comments? Then we're going to have some introduction of some staff. But any question or comments before we vote on this? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Hello.
I'm really excited tonight to introduce to you some new staff members that will be joining us for the 15-16 school year. We have 3 administrators and 2 head coaches. So when I do call your name, if you can make your way up, because we'd like you to address the board and say a couple words. The first person I'd like to introduce, we'd like to welcome John Fullerman as a new assistant principal of Heights High School. Mr. Fullerman was previously the principal of Summit Academy Secondary School in Canton, where he's also the head coach of basketball team and director of student council. Prior to entering the education field, initially as a teacher, he served as a police officer from 2003 until 2009 for Cleveland Heights Police Department. He obtained his bachelor's from Myers University before going to secure his master's in education from John Carroll University. Since then, he completed Cleveland State University's principal licensure program, is in the process of finishing the advanced curriculum and instructional program from Wright State University. I'm not sure John was able to join us tonight. Sorry, John, please come on up.
Hi, I'm John Fullerman. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work at this great school district and the community that's here. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right, I next would like to introduce the new principal of Oxford Elementary School. Her name is Bridget Pronti. She initially started her career as an elementary school teacher for the district in 2002 to 2007, where she was active in a number of programs and committees. She then moved to Cleveland Metropolitan School District to serve as an assistant principal before becoming a principal in 2010. She holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Akron, as well as a certification from Ashland University in both administration and curriculum and instruction. So let's welcome Ms. Pronti.
I don't blame her.
Greetings to the board.
Hello.
I am so excited to be back in Cleveland Heights University Heights, part of Tiger Nation. I was one of those teachers that was working at Coventry when Coventry closed 8 years ago. So I was sad to leave, but I did go to Cleveland and got some great experience, some great professional development, and I'm happy to be back as a principal here in Cleveland Heights University Heights. I also would like to recognize my family who came to support me, my wonderful parents, and my son who will be 1 year old in less than 2 weeks, my sister who's also an educator, my uncle who is a University Heights resident. So thank you guys for coming out this evening as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and next I'd like to introduce our new supervisor of athletics. If Dwight Hollins can come forward, please. Mr. Hollins, Cleveland Heights High School graduate himself, an extensive experience in athletics, previously worked as Assistant Director of Athletics at John Carroll University before becoming Director of Athletics at St. Peter Chanel High School. Since 2004, Mr. Hollins has also served as founder and president of True Believers Incorporated, in which he provides clients throughout Greater Cleveland strategic consultation in order to improve educational opportunities for athletes. He completed his associate's degree at Hilbert College, his bachelor's at Xavier University, and obtained a master's in education from Cleveland State University. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Dwight Hollins.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
I'm a little embarrassed by this, but in the spirit of, it seems like everybody is, seem to be coming home these days. So I'd like to thank the school board, Dr. Dixon, Principal Ross, for giving me the opportunity to also come home. I'd like to try to do the best job I can, not to reinvent anything, but to add to the legacy and the rich legacy of Cleveland Heights, its athletic program. The only bad thing about this is that my mom is not here to see this. She was a staunch supporter of Cleveland Heights High School, but I know she's upstairs looking down at us, smiling on this day. Again, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
And we do have two head basketball coach announcements to make. Our new girls head basketball coach is Karen Battle of Heights High. She was recently served as the assistant varsity basketball coach last year. And Jeremy Holmes is returning home as a graduate of Heights High after coaching this past season at Cleveland Central Catholic and taking that team to the state title game. And I think Jeremy is here. You can come forward if you like. Is Karen here as well? Okay. But Jeremy, please come forward. And welcome. Welcome back.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you. My wonderful parents, you know, they're here as well, and they're alumni of Cleveland Heights High School. But it's just an honor for me to be able to come back home and not only be a basketball coach, but be a leader to our young people. So I'm going to work tireless hours to make sure that they get everything they need, not only on the basketball floor, but off of it as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're moving on to business services. I believe I need to take each of these separately. So could I have a motion to approve item F1, the quarterly contracts?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Steve, you want to say
this is
a
our
word or two?
regular action that we do on a quarterly basis for the board to approve routine contracts that we enter into.
Anything else, gentlemen? Okay, Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Zucker? Yes. Mr. Coble? Yes. Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
I need a motion to approve item F2, please.
So moved.
Second.
Mr.
So this
Chacon?
is the start of a program we've initiated to continue to do repairs and replacement on playgrounds at the various elementary buildings. I should note that the funds for this will be coming out of our Permanent Improvements Fund, which is a separate tax levy that generates monies for repairs and replacements of various facility and building components. This is not general fund, and it's not bond fund.
Right.
Right? So it's a separate Permanent Improvements Fund that's going to be funding this project.
Weren't there also some dollars raised by the Noble PTA for this, or no?
I believe there are some dollars to help offset some of that cost, yes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
I need a motion to approve item F3, please.
So moved.
Second.
So this is our temporary bus parking lot, and unfortunately, when we made the lease arrangement there, we were hopeful that the pavement that was existing would be in such a condition that it would be able to manage the buses. Unfortunately, it was not. So we're going back now. It's our obligation to keep the lot in good shape. The heavy bus traffic is damaging that pavement, and so we've got to go back in and do some repairs so the buses can continue to park there. I should note on this action, it is our intention to use bond funds to pay and do this repairs.
And that's allowable. Any questions or comments? Mr. Gaynor? Oh, go ahead, sorry.
So those repairs would be done in the near future?
Yes.
And the repairs would be, would take into account the weight of the buses so that by the time we left that parking lot, we wouldn't have to repair again?
That's our hope. Right. That's our plan.
That would be the design?
Yes.
So we're finding that the parking lot used twice a year for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, the buses require...
It's used more than that by other people.
People parking there, teaching kids how to park their cars, you know.
It's used more than that.
Okay. All right. Mr. Gaynor?
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Koval?
Yes.
All right, I need a motion to approve item F4, please.
So moved.
Second.
So this is an agreement that we have struck with the Warrensville schools to provide access for our swim team, swim cadets, to use their pool during the 2 years that the high school will be under construction. So we are glad to be able to reach that agreement with Warrensville and partner with them and be able to use their facility.
I'm glad that we have been able to get to this agreement also. I guess I am curious why it was structured with these very specific dates and hours, and what our plans are if there needs to be some shifting. How that, is that going to be an administrative?
That's what happens when two lawyers get together.
Well, okay.
And so, yes, I believe that there's enough cooperation between the districts that going forward we will be able to work through any pinches that the agreement may, as written, may create. I'm confident of that.
Is it possible to get, I'm not sure if it was in the materials, where are we as far as the list for finding a home for all of our teams for practice? Are we 100%? Are we, George was like, we were the home stretch of the last meeting.
We are.
Is everything's booked?
Not quite. Okay. I would say we're probably 95% booked. We've got a couple of final teams and practices that we're still working on to make sure we've secured a good place for them. But we're about 95% there. I think we're at a point where we could share that document with the board so that you have a sense of where they're going to be. And certainly we want to get that out to families and the community so that they have a good sense of where their children are going to be who are participating in those various activities.
I was going to say, I think there's probably two components. One would be where kids are practicing and where we're going to be competing, having that sent over to our award-winning communications department and make sure that they have materials that, so folks aren't saying, hey, when we have a competition game, really directing folks to where the games are at.
Right, absolutely.
And meets, I'm sorry, games and meets.
Any other comments? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepper?
Yes. All right, I need a motion, please, to approve item F5.
So moved.
Second.
So this is a lease agreement with University Square to obtain and use a surface parking lot, about 130 spaces, that is immediately to the west of the Wiley campus, adjacent to Miramar. And we'll be using that space for staff parking while the Wiley campus is used as the high school. So we brought the lease proposal to you last month, and now this is the fully executed lease.
How are we coming on all of the logistical details with the city of University Heights? Are we, in the purchase of the 3 vehicles we were going to use, where are we still fine-tuning things, or is all the details hammered out?
Well, I think we are following through with all the commitments that we made during the Planning Commission process, and we have followed through with all of the things that we need to do in terms of building permits, building inspections, and so forth, working collaboratively with their building department inspectors, to get the necessary approvals that we need.
And we're on track.
And we are on track for all of that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
It's still at the beginning of July, but before,
Sure.
In 30 days, it's going to be the middle of August, and we're getting ready to go.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right, Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
I need a motion, please, to approve item F6.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. So recently we issued requests for proposals for food service management services. And we received 4 proposals, and we established an interview team to meet with 3 of the companies that submitted proposals. And out of that process, we are making the recommendation that the board approve an agreement or authorize the administration to enter into an agreement with AVI Food Systems. They are a local Ohio company. Their headquarters are in Warren, Ohio. They have been successfully servicing a number of districts around us, and their proposal and their presentation were both outstanding, and we're very pleased to bring this recommendation to you.
Any questions?
Just go ahead. When we were in the process of interviewing, did we ask them about issues around food allergies and breakfasts and stuff like that? Some of the issues we had to deal with.
Yeah, actually, you may remember Joan Spurl was up here earlier, and Joan was actually part of our team, and that's an issue that's very near and dear to her heart, and during the interview process, she did ask those questions, and the responses were very positive.
Do we have any sense of whether that the students will see any particular difference?
We are pretty confident that they will see a difference right now. Yes, we are.
Will they like that difference?
Well, it's interesting. They talked about that their challenge, and they stepped up to this, is that, they talked a lot about the need to work hard to change and encourage different and healthy eating by students, and that they recognized and accepted that as their challenge. And so we were pretty impressed by that. And they seem pretty committed to working diligently to address that issue, because we hear that all the time. Oh, yes, we know they're supposed to eat healthy, we know they're supposed to eat better, but they don't. So what do you want us to do? Well, they didn't shy away from that. They're stepping up to that, and they're committed to finding ways to encourage and get students to change eating habits. So we'll see.
Thank you, Joan. No, I appreciate that you were part of that, Joan, and I know that you brought your enthusiasm and expertise to that, so I do appreciate that. All right, can I have any other questions? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Finally, I think we can take these recommendations together. Could I have a motion to approve item F7?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
Just that we thank all of them.
All very
and are very
generous.
appreciative of the donations.
Yeah. Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
All right, moving on to finance. Let's take them separately. Could I have a motion to approve item G1, the financial reports?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gaynor? No, I mean, do you have anything to say?
Only that I appreciate you letting me add this at the last minute. We did close the fiscal year today, so we were able to bring the reports to you tonight for approval. So the auditors will be very happy that that you took prompt action on this and that they can start their work for the summer. So
Are the auditors ever happy?
well, they're as happy as auditors can be.
Okay.
So
they're
I'll go
less
with that.
sullen than normal, is what you're...
Correct.
Any questions or comments on that? Mr. Gaynor?
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Motion, please, to approve item G2.
So moved.
Second.
Just for everyone's information, in case the public doesn't know this, we are the taxing authority for the library, so the school board is required to both put any levies on the ballot for the school or for the library, but also to approve their tax budget each year. So you'll remember is our tax budget. This is simply them demonstrating the need for all the tax dollars that they have levied. And I don't think that Nancy is here tonight, but they did hire a new finance director who actually is a colleague of mine and is coming out of school finance, and so I know her very well, Deb Herman, and also a resident of University Heights, so I'm looking forward to working with her, and I suspect in the future we'll see her here presenting this document to you. But I have reviewed it, and it's consistent with what they would typically provide.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. Gaynor?
Mr. Register?
Yes.
Mr. Silverman?
Yes.
Mr. Zucker?
Yes.
Mr. Coble?
Yes.
Ms. Pepler?
Yes.
I have one question for Mr. Gaynor.
Yes.
I normally ignore most of the things I see on LinkedIn, but is it true that this is the 20th year you've been with the school district?
That is correct.
In the words of your previous assistant superintendent, mazel tov.
Thank you.
All right, well, I just have a few things to say as part of the board president's report. Obviously, for those of you who are paying attention, I would guess that everybody in this room falls into that category. The City of Cleveland Heights had a first reading last night and have determined that they would like to put a 0.25% income tax increase on the ballot this November. We have been waiting to hear what their action was going to be. They made it clear all throughout the last year that they needed to put some type of an increase on the ballot this November, which is, as again you all know, which is why we decided to go this past May, and our levy request was denied by the voters. we have a lot of conversations that we need to have as a board in light of that, those specifics now. We're not prepared to have them tonight. It's news that we received last night, but we will have them in public and would like to hear from any of you. Certainly, several people in the community have made themselves clear about where they stand on this issue. But as I said at our last meeting, if we do not pass a tax levy increase this year, we'll have to make significant cuts in the budget. And that may be what we determine we need to do, but those are our two options. We either pass one this year or we make significant cuts. So that's the way school funding works in Ohio. And so I would really appreciate your engagement in that conversation. If any of you haven't either come up to speak to us about this at these meetings, or if you haven't reached out to us individually by email or by phone, please do so. You know, on that note, that's always a tough note. I really remain very excited about the next few months in this district. I'm so excited about the work getting started at the high school. I'm excited about the kids' transition to Wiley. I've actually heard from my two girls who will be attending the Heights High at Wiley. There's more positive scuttlebutt than there was before, because people are starting to see the photos and they're talking to other kids who've gone on the tours, and they know that the facility is going to be very, very nice, and that the word trailer should never be used to describe the temporary facilities there. So I'm excited about that. Also about the work that we have ahead of us with strategic planning, as I've discussed before. We will have a work session in 2 weeks where we will be discussing the design development stage and taking action on that. Sadly, I am on vacation. When my family and I originally planned vacation, I know you guys don't need to have this level of detail. I just feel guilty. I don't miss meetings. I've missed one meeting in my entire time on the board. But we weren't planning on having a work session in July, and we planned this many, many, many months ago. So I won't be at that meeting, but I know that good work will be done, and I'll make sure I communicate with Steve beforehand on the plans as I see them. So that's my board president's report for this evening.
Where are you going?
I'm going to the, it's funny that it's Shark Week. I'm going to the Outer Banks. If any of you have paid attention to that, there have been a few shark attacks in the Outer Banks, which don't usually happen, but that's where I'm going, but I do plan to return.
Well, if you see Roy Scheider, listen to him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any unfinished business? New business, any new business, gentlemen? No. Any board committee reports?
I mean, just the update, I mean, as you were saying, the Strategic Planning Committee continues their work and is beginning to not only work out the details of how the goals will be implemented, which is going to be vital to making sure they are implemented as opposed to just nice ideas. And that work is heavily underway, but also then how do we get all that information out to the public in the most efficient and encompassing way. That conversation is also going on. And I believe the board will be presented at the end of July, on the 24th. Is it the work session?
No, August 4th.
August 4th will be when that's right, and we will be presented with the plan itself. And we'll have some details before that so that the board can begin to review it ahead of time and begin to digest.
Thank you.
I've got, I guess, two. Alumni Foundation, the next sale for heightskier.com will be, if memory serves, the last Saturday in July, because I don't remember what day that is. And almost all of the Tiger Nation one color T-shirts, sweatshirts are on sale, so stock up. It's a perfect time to buy a hooded sweatshirt. It's a day like today. The last Facilities Accountability Committee meeting, there really wasn't much new big issues, at least in my take, that I haven't shared with you already. Just one thing I would mention in regard to the issue 81 and sort of why we're here when it's very humid is the new auditorium seating in this space. Those of you who've been in here before the seating would know what a wreck it was, but now we have all new seating, which is part of the facilities project. We were able to do this earlier, and to me, those who are familiar with the space before, it really is night and day. Makes this a really nice facility, particularly when it's, November or May, when it's nice and cool in here. And the only thing last, I would just, it's not a committee report, but Mr. Gaynor responded to Ms. Hullum, just for my edification, for those of you who've stayed through the whole course of it, I've asked Ms. Hullum to respond to comments she made at a forum in November of 2013, multiple occasions, and I haven't received a response. You folks know some of those email exchanges. So it goes, I've been very disappointed not to have a very simple reply from her on that. So that's it for my reports.
Sorry, I closed my agenda. Any correspondence and announcements? Sorry.
I think, Scott, you could probably say a thing or two about the budget and whatever impact you know about it now. I know the tangible personal property has come out and that was on the news last, today, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Fortunately, because our district is primarily residential, we didn't have much in the way of tangible personal property to begin with, or reimbursement. So unlike many of our neighboring districts who are seeing millions of dollars out of the budget, his line item veto on that item amounted to about $200,000 annually for us, which isn't insignificant, but it's certainly not to the degree that others had it. So that information will be put into the 5-year forecast, as well as closing the books and having actual numbers for 2015. So all of those pieces of data will inform our decision. Fortunately, you'll remember early on where people, actually Governor Kasich's budget suggested we would get $2 million more annually, and instead we're seeing $200,000 less annually. So we are generally conservative when he comes out with that budget, and that was not put in the forecast ever. We never assumed that we would see that $2 million increase, so that's a good thing. And the $200,000 decrease will be put into the forecast, and we'll move forward from there.
I appreciate that you reminded everyone of that, Scott, because that was one of the things that we heard from people when we talked about the need to go. Correct. But the governor's budget will give you $2 million more, but it's not assumed that those things would pass in the way that he introduced them. Correct. So I appreciate that you shared that. Mm-hmm. If I could make one announcement, I should have done this as part of the board president's report, but next Monday at the board offices at 6 p.m., we will be having a joint meeting with the city of Cleveland Heights, with the city council. We have these occasionally. We're also scheduling a joint meeting with University Heights. That we have some dates. We're still trying to finalize those, and we'll share those with you when those when that's finalized. And those are, as always, open to the public. We don't take public comment at those meetings, but they are conversations between the two bodies. So it's at 6 p.m. Monday at the board offices. Anything else? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Gaynor.
Mr. Coble. Yes. Ms. Pepler.
Yes.
Mr. Register.
Yes.
Mr. Silverman.
Yes.
Mr. Zucker.
Yes.